Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to have the user input their first name and have that show up above their speech bubbles and be referenced in dialogue. So I just want to start by saying that I already have the rest of my customization template complete, but what I'm going to be showing you is just how to have the user input their name. So the first thing that we're going to do is create that input bubble that pops up that asks the user what their name is. After we just have the narrator say, "So what's your name?" So now we have to create that white bubble that pops up that asks the user to type in their name. So we do that first by typing in input, and then we have to type in whatever question we want the reader to be asked. So in this case, we're going to ask them, "What's your first name?" Then we have to add a vertical line and then ask that same question again. And then another vertical line. And then this is the important part. So we write done, and then in parentheses, whatever you want this variable to be called. So in this case, I'm going to call it first name because that's what it is. It's the user's first name. You can do this for anything. You can do this to ask the reader what their favorite food is. You can name the variable whatever you want, but this is the basic format. This is how you would do that. So that line here creates that bubble that pops up asking the reader for their name. Now, if you'd like to reference that later in the script, you do so by simply typing exactly the name of the variable, all in caps, no spaces, later in the script, and you have that in those little bookend bracket things. So that will reference back to whatever the user typed in there. Next, what we're going to do is not necessary, but I think it's important. We're going to set up a failsafe to make sure that the user actually types in a name and not just blank space. So what I'm going to do is create a label called first name input, and you can name it whatever you want. This is just what I'm naming it. And then we set up a little loop here, a little if-else statement. So we're going to say if whatever you set the variable to, again in this case it's first name, so if first name is, and then the two quotation marks. So basically that just means if first name is blank. Then we'll have the narrator say, "You do need a name." So that will pop up if the user puts in a blank space instead of a name. So then we're going to call back to that first label. So we're going to say go to first name input. And so that will just ask the reader one more time what their name is. And that will loop through as many times as is necessary for the reader to type in a proper name. So then we just need to go ahead and complete this if-else statement. So we're just going to close it out by saying else, and then we're just going to have it continue. So basically that just means if the user does in fact type in a valid name, then we'll just continue on into the script. And then we get to close that out with an ending bracket there. So that is how you do that. That is how you have the bubble pop up asking what the name is, and that's how you store it to a particular variable. Now, if you want to reference that later in the script, again, you just need to use first name or whatever you named the variable. So you just have to call back to that. So now I'm going to show you how to have their name above a speech bubble when they talk, now that we've already set up this variable here. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to where the character is. So now, as you can see, the script name is main character, or MC, but the key here is to have the display name be whatever you called that variable. Again, in this case, I called it first name because that's the name of my variable. But whatever you name that variable, has to be the display name. Otherwise, it will not show up as the name above the speech bubbles. So now what I'm going to do is show you what both that first part looks like in the app and now what it looks like having first name above the speech bubble. So here we have the customization, and this is what's going to come up is what is your first name, and you type in the name. And see there, it actually makes reference to my name. And then this is what it looks like later in the script where I have the speech bubble above the character.